everyone, my name's Odyssey, and welcome back to Odyssey's World. Yes, this is a wig, so I'm experimenting. So this is my red wig that I've had for a while, and I'm trying to get used to the length and all that stuff. So I just kind of braided it in the front, and then I have the long red hair, and I do wear glasses and all that stuff. And then this is the shirt of the day. If it looks familiar, it is the exact same shirt. If you watch The Big Bang Theory, this is the exact same shirt that Sheldon wears. Bazinga! So, that being said, I'm just kind of experimenting with my hair and all that stuff, and the length and all that stuff. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tuck this back, and then put these back here, and then this part here I'm going to cut off that tucks under, and then pretty much that. So, as promised, oh, you wondering what that blue thing is? Well, that's my tattoo. It's a blue elephant. I got it in memory of my son. And then eventually I'm going to put his name, Skylar Pearl, and then a rainbow here and all that stuff. And yeah. So, but bear with me. I'm trying to adjust this. I haven't worn my wig in a couple of weeks. But, so as promised, guys, thanks for, oh, if you're new to my channel, hit this like button, subscribe, and hit the bell so you're notified to all the videos I do for you. So I'm just experimenting with the wig, so I told you I'd come in here with my long red wig that I have, my long red hair, which I am going to be growing it out to this length and stuff, so my hair is naturally red underneath this. And it's a little discombobulated at the moment, so give me one quick minute, and I have a piece of hair in my face. That's why I don't really particularly like long hair, because it gets in my face. But okay, so that being said, this thing's gonna drive me nuts, so I gotta adjust it and all that stuff. But this is how I have it, and then I have this in the back, and I'm gonna brush it out and braid it and make it look really nice. I was trying to do a legless thing where he's got the braids on the sides and then the little thing in the back. So, but as you can tell, my hair underneath it, which is probably part of the problem, is growing like a weed, and I have hat hair today. So if you don't mind my really weird unkempt hair, no matter what I do, it's at the phase where no matter what I do, it wants to do its own thing. So let me just kind of go like that. Like I say, I'm growing it out to that length. But without further ado, so I promised that I was going to read The Hobbit to you guys. So I went to my local library yesterday, and they didn't have The Hobbit. They had The Two Towers. They had Return of the King. They didn't have the first book. The oh God, The Fellowship of the Ring. Sorry, I just had a brain fart. And then they had this one. Now this is the Silmarillion, or Silmarillion, or Silmarillion, or however you pronounce it. So Tolkien's really hard to read, and a lot of people can't read this book, but you and I are going to read chapter per chapter. And you know, this book came out, it says in the preface, let's see here, 1977, copyright 1981. Now, I wasn't born until 81. I was born June of 81. So this book came out, and Professor Tolkien was alive a lot longer than a lot of us. He's no longer alive, unfortunately, and all that stuff. So today, I'm going to be reading you the foreword and then the preface to the second edition. So, and then the foreword is by Christopher Tolkien, and he wrote this in 1977. About his father's works. Christopher Tolkien recently passed away, I believe, last year. So, unfortunately, all the Tolkien's, the Tolkien estate is still there, but I don't know whose hands it is in. And then also, I am going to be making another video. I'm working on some artwork. I'm back doing artwork. So, sorry I haven't done any artwork or done very many things for my Facebook page. I actually run a Facebook page called King Thranduil and Prince Legolas's Dedicated Fans, and we are currently at 26.6 thousand members, members. That's a lot of people. So, but if you're a member on that page and you see this video and you like this video and you really like that, please share this video with your friends. You know, this is a really hard book to get through, but we'll get together and we'll read it together, and you just sit back, relax, grab popcorn, chips, you know, or just watch. So, yeah. And then if you don't know about that Facebook page, you're more than welcome to come join. We are all a bunch of Tolkien nerds, and we do basically a lot of cosplay. We do a role play on there. I've had that page for at least the last 6 years, and I love doing it, if not longer. So, and interesting fact about it, Lee Pace, who plays as King Thranduil, and Orlando Bloom, who plays as Prince Legolas, do know about the page, and they are members of the page, but they're under different names, and I'm not allowed to reveal who they are. So, and they are quite frequent on that page, and they just like all the stuff, and you know. So, anyways, we are going to read the Silmarillion. This is by Professor J.R.R. Tolkien, and this came out, like I say, in 1977, I believe. Where did it say? Yep, 1977. Copyright. Tolkien Copyright Trust and Christopher Rule Tolkien. So this is the foreword. So this is what Christopher Tolkien wrote about his father. The Silmarillion, now published 4 years after the death of the author, in the account of the Elder Days, or the first age of the world. In The Lord of the Rings were narrated the greatest events of the end of the Third Age. But the tales of the Silmarillion are legends, driving from much deeper past, when Morgoth, the first Dark Lord, dwelt in Middle-earth, and the High Elves made war upon him from the recovery of the Silmarillions. Oh, the Silmarils. I might have pronounced that wrong. And if I pronounce things wrong, don't go back in the comments and correct me, because I have dyslexia and I have a lot going on, and I just had major surgery, so this is my little wound vac thing, and I don't know if you can hear it, but it's sucking out all that bad stuff, and I'm doing actually really good. They put a skin graft on my last surgery, and I am recovering. I'm bouncing back pretty darn good. 9 surgeries later, or yeah, no big deal, no joke. But anyways, back to the book. Not only, however, do the Silmarillion relate to the events as far as earlier time and those of Lord of the Rings, it is also, in all essentials of its conception, far the earlier work. Indeed, although it was not then called the Silmarillion, it was already in being half a century old. Holy crap. So Tolkien actually wrote this first before he wrote all the other books. Sounds like it. And in battered notebooks extending back to 1917, can still be read in the earliest versions, often hastily penciled, of the central stories of mythology. That's actually kind of cool. So this actually has been written, according to Tolkien. He wrote all this back in 1917. Back before, I believe, World War I was going on during that time. World War II had not yet taken place. So, yeah. That is interesting. But it was never published, though some indication of its content would be gleaned from Lord of the Rings, and throughout my father's long life he never abandoned it, nor ceased, even in his latest years, to work on it. In all that time, the Silmarillion, considered simply a large narrative structure, underwent relatively little radical change. It became, long ago, a fixed tradition and a background to later writings. But it was far indeed from being fixed text, and did not remain unchanged even in certain fundamental ideas concerning the nature of the world it portrays, while some legends say to be retold in longer and shorter forms, and in different styles. As the years passed, the changes of variants, both in detailed and large perspectives, became so complex, so persuasive, and so many layered that the final and definite version seems unattainable. Moreover, the old legends, old not only in their derivation of the remote first age, also in terms of my father's life, became the vehicle of Despotory and his profoundest reflections. In his later writing, mythological and poetry sank down to behind his theological and psychological preoccupations, from which arose incompatibles of tones. So, I agree with Tolkien here, and Christopher Tolkien here, deeply, because I myself am a writer. I've been writing and rewriting and perfecting my story called The Veil, which I will be doing a couple chapters. I'll be reading my first chapter to you once I get kind of settled with how I want the first openings of my introductions to characters to come to light. And it's basically, if you've ever seen the on A&E History Channel, Vikings with Travis Fimmel as Ragnar, Alex Holt Anderson as Ivar, Alex Ludwig as Bjorn. Yeah, that show. I really loved Vikings, and I loved how they did it, but I wanted to tie Vikings meets Lord of the Rings, and the main protagonist in that thing for the longest time is Ragnar, because there is this part where Ragnar disappears, and where does Ragnar go? He ends up in Middle-earth. And he doesn't even know he's part of Middle-earth. There's, like I say, the Veil. So, I already figured out how I'm going to do it. I'm just kind of coming up with different things. So, I will be reading the first chapters to you of my story in the next couple series of videos, so you guys can get a feel for it. And I do plan to publish my book. So, here we go. We're going to finish reading what he says. On my father's death, it fell to me to try to bring the work into publishable form. It became clear to me that the attempt to present, with covers of a single book, the diversity of materials to show the Silmarillion as, in truth, a continuing evolving creation, extending over more than half a century, would in fact lead only to confusion and a submerging of what is essential. I set myself, therefore, to work on a single text, selecting and arranging in many a way as seemed to me to produce most coherent and initially self-constructive nature. In this work, the concluding chapters from the death of Turambar, I'm just going to guess how these names are, and all that stuff, because it is hard. With Tolkien, it's really hard to come up with like how the names are actually exactly pronounced compared to how he actually pronounced them. Introduced particular difficulties, and they remained unchanged for many years and were in some respects in a serious disharmony with more developed conceptions and others part of the book. A complete consistency, either with the compass of the Silmarillion between itself, or between the Silmarillion and other published writings of my fathers, is not to be looked for, and could only be achieved, if at all, at heavy and needless cost. Moreover, my father came to conceive the Silmarillion as a contemplation, a competitive narrative, made long afterwards from sources of great diversity, poems and annals and oral tales, that has survived an age-long tradition, and this conception has indeed its parallel in actual history in the book, for a great deal of earlier prose and poetry does not underlie it, and it is to some extent of a compendium, in fact, not only in theory. To this may be ascribed the various speed of narrative and fullness of detail in different parts, the contrast, for example, of precise recollections of places and motive and legend of Turambar, besides the high and remote account at the end of the first age when Dangordarim was broken and Morgoth overthrown, and also some differences of a tone portrayal, some obscurities, and here and there some lack of cohesion. In case of the Vala Quintana, for instance, I may be pronouncing these words wrong, so don't correct me. Like I say, Tolkien's really hard to read. For instance, we have to assume that while it contains much that must go back to the earliest days of Eldar and Valinor, it is remodeled in later times and thus explained in continuous shriveling tens of viewpoints so that the divine powers seem present and active in the world, not all remote and vanished order known to memory. The book, though entitled as it is the Silmarillion, contains not only the Quinta Silmarillion, or Silmarillion proper, or 4 other words, the Arendu and the Valquinta, which are given at the beginning, and indeed closely associated with the Silmarillion, but the Alabakafeth of the Rings of Power, which appeared at the end. are, it must be emphasized, wholly separate and independent. They are included according to my father's explicit intention, but their inclusion of the entire history set forth from the music of Anur. It is of Anur, in which the world began, to the passing of the ring-bearers from the havens of Mythland and the end of the Third Age. The number of names that occur in the book is very large, and I have provided a full index, but the number of persona, elves, and men who play an important part in the narrative of the First Age is very much smaller, and all of these will be found in a genealogical tables. In addition, I have provided a table setting out the rather complex naming of the different Elvish peoples, a note of pronunciation of Elvish names, and a list of some of the chief elements found in the names, and a map. So I'll be showing you guys all that. It may be noted that the Great Mountain Range in the east, Ered Lurin, or Ered Linden, the Blue Mountains, appeared to be extreme west of the map in Lord of the Rings. In the body of the book there is a smaller map. The intention of this is to make clear at glance where lay the kingdoms of the elves after the return of the Noldor to Middle-earth. Now the Noldor are like Lord Elrond, Gilligald, King Gilligald, Arwen. So Lord Elrond is Noldor. Now King Thranduil and Prince Legolas are Sindarin elves. They're the elves that did not fade. They're the ones that kind of stayed behind while everyone else was going out to Valinor and all that stuff, the Grey Havens. So they're indeed a wealth of I have not. Oh, okay. I got confused. Okay. I have not burdened the book further with any sort of commentary or annotation. There is indeed a wealth of unpublished writing by my father concerning 3 ages: narrative, linguistic, historical, and philosophical, and I hope that it will prove possible to publish some of this at a later date. In the difficult and doubtful tasks of preparing the text of the book, I was greatly assisted by Guy Kay, who worked with me in 1974 through 1975. Christopher Tolkien, 1977. So this concludes the foreword of the Silmarillion, where it came from, how it came from, and yeah. So tomorrow I'm going to read you the preface to the 2nd edition and a letter by J.R.R. Tolkien to Milton Walden in 1951. So that'll be for tomorrow's video. But I hope you enjoyed the first preface, and I hope it really explained where this book came from. Now, I had no idea that Tolkien actually... I had ideas that he wrote. Every great writer has always backstories and all these histories, and I have backstories and histories, and I changed my story, The Veil, around quite a bit, But I take inspiration from Professor Tolkien, and I try to live by his key morals, even though I am a pagan and he was heavy Catholic. But, I have fun with it. I don't expect it to go anywhere. If it does go somewhere, or, I'm just happy just being me. But anyways, this concludes the video. Sorry it was a little long. If you made it all the way to the end and you really like stuff like this, and you know friends that like stuff like this, please feel free to share my video. Please also please like and subscribe, and hit that bell down there so you're notified, so when you can see another chapter that I read from here. And then I'm going to be doing more haunted histories from that other book, because I think haunted history is really fascinating. But other than that, everything else is going really good here. It's been hot here in Idaho, where I'm from. It's been 94 degrees, but that sound that you hear, that's actually my AC, and I keep my AC around 70, 73. It's at 73 right now. So yeah, I kind of like it like around the 70s. But other than that, everything else is going really good. So this is what I've been drinking. This is the Cotton Candy Bang. I don't really have a sponsorship with them, with Bang, but Bang sees this commercial, and I'm going to tag them down below so they get credit. So this is the Cotton Candy one, and so good. I like that cotton candy stuff. Oh, interesting fact. So all my artwork, I'm really excited. So we have a state fair that's coming up at the end of August. It's the Idaho Southeast Idaho Bannock State Fair. And they have an art display over there where you can submit your art. Well, guess what? I'm going to be submitting my artwork and parts of my story for the Veil. So I'm really, really excited. So I've been working really hard to get chapter 1 and 2 actually done. And then posting a link as to where you can read my story. And it's going to have a nice cover and all that stuff. So I'm working on some artwork for it. So, alright. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day. Love you lots. And also hit that bell, subscribe, and just come with me for the adventure. All that stuff. I do a lot of reading. I'll be showing you what Idaho looks like. I'll be just being me and all that stuff. And you be you. And feel free to leave a comment down below. This is actually not for really geared towards kids. You have to be 18 or older to view my videos. That's just how I am and all that stuff. But if you have adult supervision and you're a kid, stay in school, keep doing great, and also start reading Tolkien, because there's a whole freaking genre world. I mean, if you like the movies like Thor, Loki, Marvel, DC, these books are not on that level, but they're similar to that one. And then I have another book after I read this one that I'm going to read you that is my absolutely favorite. It's called Mist, the Book of Atris. And that's the first things into Mist. And then I'm going to be playing the game and then showing you guys different levels and how to beat Mist and all that stuff and go into detail, and you just gotta see it. It's simply amazing game that came out in the early 90s. But I kind of yapped your ear off and all that stuff. But if you like this type of stuff, like I say, hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell so you're notified to all the videos I do just for you. You have a wonderful day. Love you lots, guys. Bye!